What's going on? What's the word? It's about to awakening, heard all over the world. What's going on? What's the word? It's about to awakening, heard all over the world. Hey yo fam, Betwabi, it's time to wake up. Don't hit the snooze button. We gotta gird up, put your saya on. Here's the word, you know. We were like to the
Called righteous for that. Why? Because I'm not saying that fornication is righteous. It was because she found a way to outdo the wickedness in that house. That house was a wicked house. How do all the sons think the same? So, I don't want to. You're not the first one. And in Africa, and in that culture, you could marry more than one wife. What was the problem? I don't care. They take my name. They'd use my brother's name. That's how you're supposed to think. But they weren't thinking like that. So you will see that within African culture, wife inheritance, they looked at us as savage or backward. But the reasoning is that if I get married to my sister's husband, I'm more likely to be motherly to those children than a foreigner or somebody stranger. That culture had a way to balance itself.
That's the key word there, balance.
Balance. Okay. They call it savage, we call it civilized. So, we all had a system that was set by our ancestors, and our ancestors were not stupid.
They knew what the Bible culture. All that is in the Bible.
All that is in the Bible. In fact, we even have a cultural practice called ogotakerwa. And this is power of word, and Sister Tabitha can support that. So my maternal great-grandmother was an only child. Very rare in African culture, but she was an only child. And the reason why that happens is because the time missionaries had come in, father could not marry more than one wife. So she was an only child. She was a girl. But what happened was her mother kept giving birth to children, and she kept miscarrying them. So in society, in African, not African, but I'd say Abagusi cultural practices, we have something called ogotakerwa, where they will go and put a child by the road. And anybody who sees a mother and a child, because they will shave that child's head all the way and leave, kind of like the way the pharaohs did, and leave us. So people would know that this is the child who needs to be blessed. So whoever passed by there would give whatever they had. And if they didn't have anything, they would go and give a leaf or a stone. And you speak positive word upon that child. So anyone that passed by there, that passed by that road, had to agree in spirit and the physical form that child would live. And that's the only child that ever lived of my great-great-grandparents from a maternal side. You see, so again, it's just simple. It's word. That's simple practice. The power of life and death is in the tongue.
Yes.
And those that eat, the fruits, how does it say? And those that eat the fruit thereof.
It's thereof is in there. I know that.
Yeah. And those that eat it, something anyway. But yeah, the power of life and death is in the tongue. And you will see even with many of these children and how they came, you will see in some families. Now, in some families, it will take the opposite end, where a medicine man will come and trick them and say, this child is being takerwad, but we'll give him the name of a coffin. From today, this child will be called coffin to trick death. You see what I'm saying? But you have to look at those children. Do they have long lives? If their name is coffin, do they end up having long lives? I don't know. That's something people will have to investigate. If you know you're called Mbera and you're Mogusi, tell us if that thing really works.
You know what I
Yes.
found out? You talking about names, because I know that naming is very important in African culture, and they would not allow our ancestors over here to continue that practice over here. So that is why we have European names. Like my name is Brenda, but the Most High has a way, because it's tied to your culture and your destiny. So, do you all know Pastor Mello? Okay. So what he did was he got our name, me, my husband's name, and whomever else wanted him to do it. You told him what your name mean in English, and he will give you the equivalent of what your name is in Kikongo. And so I did that. And so when I tell people that know me what my name means in Kikongo, they like, wow, my names mean fire, torch. And they said that it fits. I think Bosibore froze up on us. Yeah, she's back now. We can't hear you. You're on mute.
Oh, amen. I was saying amen. You're back.
Yes, you froze up on us. I was talking about how you was talking about name, and how we know naming in African culture is significant. It's very important. And how I was just saying how they prevented our ancestors from, continuing that naming process over here, but still, the spirit realm, our ancestors and the Most High just still use that to our advantage, because I was saying how Pastor Mello had took our English name and our meaning, and he went and found it in Kikongo, and my name means torch, fire. And when they
English meaning,
it's Lima. So in Kikongo, my name is Lima, which means torch, fire, light, and everybody's like, that's your personality. So everybody they say it fits your personality. And so my husband, his name is, as you see it, Nzambi Zola, which means Zola, of course, we know is love. And I think Nzambi is the one who belongs to the Most High.
Wow.
Is what it's
Nzambi. Oh. Yeah,
he went with his name. I didn't go with my name was Lima. I forgot the middle name again, but it was Lima, and it's a specific reason why I did not. I don't use my name that he gave me. He used it. It's a reason why I didn't. I know that naming is important, and something was spoken to me. So.
Oh wow! Okay, wow, that's interesting, because the name Ilumu in the Kenya Kusia, it's a Bantu language. It means light also. So Lima, light, torch, I can see that. That's interesting. Yeah, but in this culture, names are fashioned, should I say, from two positions. Okay. Mm-hmm. There's a name, the Rieta. Okay, Rieta. And then there's another one where they say Ekereta, but it's used contextually. For example, I was asking one of my grandmothers, one of my grandmothers, from one of my cousin's side, and I was asking her the meaning of a name in my language, in our language. She told me, and sometimes you can know some names particular to a certain clan. So the name I was asking her was relevant to my clan. So she, what she told me? She said, you would have to ask your grandmother, because she said, meaning that is a spirit from their home.
A spirit from their home.
Mm-hmm. So names are not only just names, they are spirits. They're seen as spirits.
And ancestor spirits, you said?
No. I'm saying not the ancestor spirits, it's the spirit that will manifest in that name. So a name which
like in Nigeria, like the chi. They have chi in a lot of their
yes. So what she was saying was that is Ekereta can be a spirit, a demon, or a ghost. It depends. So a spirit can be an attitude, a way of life, right? But a spirit can be, like a spirit,
Attached to that. Oh, and it manifests in that characteristics of that person.
Yes. So she told me, I don't know the meaning, but that's a spirit from your home. It's a ghost from your home. Why? Because the conception of that name comes from our home, my dad's side. Understand? So a name is not just a name, it's also a spirit. Why? Because the name, even in Kegusi, the name Ri, the particle, like the first prefix Ri, is usually used to refer to something that is inanimate, or a situation. Ri. But eta means to pass, or that which will come to pass. So when you say Ri eta is that which will come to pass, that's what your name means, that which will come to pass. You see, a spirit will be the manifestation of that name. Like behaviorally, how would you manifest it? Yes, because it manifests from there. It was, should I say, conceived there. So there was a meaning, a historical meaning behind there.
I've heard that. And it has to do, sometimes they say, with an experience or it has significance to it. Yes, I have heard that.
It's really important. Names manifest a lot, and even sometimes what happens is that you may give a child a good name, but the manifestation is the opposite. Okay.
The opposite can manifest?
For example, I had a friend. Her name, I don't want to say her name, but her name meant chastity, it meant purity. It had the concept of being chaste. Okay, that's what her name meant. Girl.
She was the opposite. Don't tell me she was the opposite.
If you had a boyfriend, then, when you were young, we weren't really serious with, if you had a boyfriend, then if you're going to the bathroom, you tell him to go and stand outside the door. You can't leave him there with her. You know what I'm saying? So there are people who will manifest the opposite of their names. And as somebody spiritual, you have to ask yourself, what happened?
Exactly.
Why is she manifesting the opposite? A blessing instead of a curse. Her name is a blessing. Things like that you have to look into. You just know that whatever is troubling her has a root that has to do with her name. So with that name, I'm not saying change the name or whatever. You would have to take that name and do a cleansing, like ritual on her, or when I say ritual, it's just simple prayer will help you. Simple prayer. But there are things that even as a mom, when you speak, because the same mom can be able to curse a child. It's there because you're older. You can speak and reverse any negativity that came with that name. Because maybe when you say this child's name would be purity, somebody said, we'll see. The opposite. People who don't, that's why in Nabagusi culture, children are not brought out to the public unless after 30 days. Because by then, you've pronounced, you've spoken whatever you want to speak upon that baby. So when you bring it out, okay, whatever, try what you want to try. You're going to fall in the hole you dug for this baby. You see? So that's why it's important for a woman to go through the cleansing period. Don't be out there, hey, I just had my child 1 week. Everybody who can come, including your co-workers, can see the child.
It used to be like that with us. You didn't go out. You stayed in the house with the baby. Anybody can just come in and touch the baby or anything. But it's just so different now. It's just so different. You couldn't touch anybody couldn't touch the child. You couldn't come around them. She had to stay in the house. I'm thinking it was 30 days. I have to ask my mom, because like I said, things are so different now than when way back. So, but yeah, I remember those things. You couldn't go outside. They tell you couldn't, what are some of the things that they used to say? I know you had to have that little binder and that hold my mama used to say to hold your stomach in, and all kinds of stuff.
You know what? It's funny that the older generation actually maintained a lot of that culture. When I hear you speaking, I'm like, what the heck?
Yeah,
They
it's
main-
not like that now. These kids are different. When I went to Tanzania, I looked around. I'm like, this is like living in the South when I was a child.
Oh, for real?
Yes, they had them washboards when I was a little kid. And I remember that. I was young, but I remember that. We hung clothes out. Okay. We didn't cook outside though, but we did the washing. We hung the clothes out. That was part of a duty as children for us. Hang the clothes out, bring them in. Yes. So I'm looking around, I'm telling my husband, like, this reminds me so much of the what we call the dirty South as a child. Some of the ways over there. I said they said it would be culture shock for people. I'm like, this is not culture shock for me. This is, of course, it's different from me now, but as a child, it took me way back down in the South.
I'm actually glad that the country you went to was Tanzania, because if there's a country that can boast of Ubuntu, it's Tanzania. Tanzania, in fact, are way better than us when it comes to Ubuntu. I have to tell. They understand it. They understand it. And I think we can give credit to, their first president, Mwalimu Julius Nyerere, because he maintained that Ubuntu system through the framework of Ujamaa, the system of brotherhood. Ujamaa just comes from the white family, Yeah. And, it's pretty interesting. Tanzanians are just, they're on a different vibration when it comes to hospitality. When you go there, you will understand the culture of the Most High. You know what I'm talking about. They're very friendly. They will not let you go hungry. Just civilized people.
And they respect elders. Because I remember, remember now, you say you embody what your name is: fire, torch.
Yeah.
So I'm over there, and I know that they will charge us more when we start speaking. They don't know who we are until we start speaking. And so, the badajis that they have over there, we had somebody to take us somewhere. And so we knew the price, and we was getting somebody else, and he wanted to charge me more. And I said, I'm not paying you that. Now, me and my husband's son is up there. He like, what? It's such and such price. I said, that's too much. We done been there before, and he didn't charge me that, and I'm not giving you that. But he said, but that's how much is it? I said, I'm not giving you that. This is all I'm giving you, and this is all you're gonna get. The young man, he was a young boy, probably like 20. He put his head down. And I said, this is all you getting. He put his head down. We got in. He took us to where we was going, and I gave him what I told him I was gonna give him.
There you go. Yeah, they'll try to exploit you too. When
I knew they was doing that, I wouldn't let them, because that wasn't the first time. It was another guy that was taking us. We went to Zanzibar. I was going back. My husband like, just give it to him. Just give it to him, Brenda. Just stop. I'm like, no, they're not gonna do this to me. No, they ain't gonna do that to us. He's like, just give it to him. Just give it to him. But yeah,
you see, and sometimes
actually I think the British was afraid that Tanzania will become socialist.
Become what?
These things in the Western world, I know socialist, like these are capitalists. The British are capitalists, so the Germans colonized Tanzania, and the British were afraid that if these people get independence from the Germans, they might want to be socialist, because in that area around Germany, there were people who had that, that idea. But the socialism this first president, Mwalimu Nyerere, introduced was not about, animal farm, like the others are better than the others. He just wanted to bring that to embrace and awaken the spirit of Ubuntu, so that these people can realize, we are not each other's enemies.
Mm-hmm.
We are one.
Mm-hmm.
So he made sure, he told them, don't ever think in a tribal ground like I'm this tribe, so my tribe is big, I'm special than a small tribe. So they had to love each other. They had to call each other brother. You go to Tanzania, they will call you kaka, dada. Everybody's a sister, everybody's a brother. And it's coming from the heart. Leave alone this drama. You know, there are people who call you sister, but they really don't mean it. You know, it has to come from the heart. So these people have lived peacefully. They are one of the most peaceful countries in Africa. Now, how did the Tanzanians like just love to speak Swahili, and Swahili became everything to them? They were not colonized by the British, so it was not a must. They speak the English. They were colonized by the Germans, but they didn't speak German at all, at all. They didn't speak German. Now, there's a story I heard, but I will just check. I was told that it is the Germans that returned the Swahili to East Africa. Like our dictionary was almost taken by the other guys. I don't know if you have ever heard of that. They nearly took the dictionary. You see now, Swahili is a very beautiful language. Whether you listen to it, whether you read it, whether you adopt the culture in that language, it's one of the most beautiful languages. One of the most beautiful languages. So
Yes.
the Arabs from Arabia had been living in the east coast of Africa for thousands, maybe before Christ. They were here 4,000 years, 5,000 years. Long, long time, together with the Persians and the other people. And so they loved the language. They spoke the language because they had to trade with the people. They had to trade, so it's the language they used for trade. Now, Swahili migrates, it crosses the Red Sea, and Swahili goes to Oman. Swahili goes to
And
Oman.
Yemen.
What is the next? Yemen.
You know,
So there was a possibility that this,
you know, Sister
yeah,
Brenda, what's interesting is
yeah.
that, you know, Arabs, even as much as they like to portray themselves as, you know, those who enlightened us, it's not true. Just so I agree with you. Arabs actually came to the East African coast, I want to say in the 13th or 14th century. And how they discovered it was the Ottoman Empire had blocked the sea routes. And they accidentally happened to drop in the East African coast. And when they came there, they found the Ngozio, the Swahili people. And they found out, they realized these people speak just like us. You know, to a certain level, they speak like us. So the Arabs are just recent visitors. And then you have so then I think in the 15th century you have the Portuguese coming in. So Arabs are just they're babies compared to Africans. Now, what is interesting is that when the Arabs came, and you were talking about it earlier, you say they told us they came and they burnt African libraries. You have to ask yourself, so were Africans writing then before? Or what were they burning? You see what I'm saying? Number two, how did Swahilis, like I say, how did Swahilis know that we're children of Adam? In Swahili language, bin Adam, it means children of Adam, meaning they were well aware of Adam. Now, a manuscript was found in the Swahili East African coast in the way before the Portuguese came. It's in Swahili, okay? But the Swahili manuscript talks about the story in the coast. It talks about, the temptation of Adam and Eve. However, unlike the Quran, the Swahili story is that Eve is actually a woman. Okay. Number two,
Mm-hmm.
the fruit is not an apple, or how they've tried to portray it. The fruit, they say, looks like, Zambarawi. Zambarawi is a Java fruit, kind of look like grapes, a Java fruit. So the Quran does not say it's a serpent either. The Quran just talks about the temptation in the Garden of Eden, but it seems to portray the serpent as a fellow, should I say, sentient being at that time. The Swahili story portrays Satan as a woman because he calls her, Adam specifically calls Satan shoga. He tells Eve, mwambie shoga yako. Shoga is a word for friends. Two female friends call themselves shoga. Now the term has changed to homosexual, but
the other thing,
shoga just means friend, sorry, not sister. Yeah. So, which makes me wonder, if they were telling us to ban our literature, was the Arabic writing also in there? Because I don't hear stories of them teaching us how to read and write. I don't hear stories of them teaching us how to read and write. However, they found mass graveyards where they find Arab men. It's a prestigious graveyard where they find Arab men buried there and Swahili women. No men there. And Swahilis will sit there and say, Arabs were our fathers. In fact, that proves it. They found a cemetery. It was only my friend from Ghana who actually challenged some Swahilis and told them, no, it talks about a history conquest. Because you have to ask yourself, if there was Swahili women and Arab men, then what happened to the uncles? Where were the uncles buried and the fathers of these Swahili women? No one knows where they were buried. But we know very well they might have been buried in the Indian Ocean or in the Arab Peninsula because they were trading East Africans. Arabs were buying. In fact, there's a bell in the East African coast. There's a bell in part of the East African coast in Kenya that was erected so that people would know when a ship was coming, they would ring the bell so people could run into the interior.
I saw the bell. The bell is in Kongowea Market. I saw it. Yes, it's like a church bell, but very big.
So can you imagine how people were scared of themselves? So not only were African Americans taken into slavery by ships, but there's brothers of ours who we don't even know where they are. At least African Americans have a voice. That's why sometimes I say I'd rather be colonized by a white man I'd rather be enslaved by a white man than an Arab. Where are the Africans that went? We don't even know. They don't even have it. At least African Americans kept some of their identity. Where are they?
But I would have thought there's something also I try to understand. Once I came to realize about the history of Aksum and how this emperor Ezana agreed his kingdom, he became a Christian, and how in the ancient days also the kingdom, the Sabaeans, the kingdom of Saba, and this queen who ruled Yemen, and she had to come to Ethiopia, and the story about King Solomon, and all these queens, Judith, and there are so many queens. Van Satima talks about so many queens around that place that ruled that horn of Africa, that east coast of Africa. So I'm thinking like these people might have come earlier together with the Persians. You see, we have Afro-Shirazi. But
the Shirazi. Thank you. I was trying to think of that word.
The Afro-Persians. The Persians were around there. So
yes,
I was thinking
Shirazi.
The early Arabs who came to Africa to trade, they had a good relationship. These are the Yemenis. These are the Sabaeans. Yes, because now they knew this queen of Sheba has sheep. There is a queen from Egypt who also has sheep. So these people are trading and trading and trading. Then all of a sudden, Okay, there is a kingdoms here. There is a kingdom of Damat on the Horn of Africa. There is the kingdom of Aksum, and there were other kingdoms, and this Solomonic kingdom. There are kingdoms there, and also our people. We have our people. Some Bantu Somali, Wangozi, and so trade was going on as normal. I think now, when now the Ottoman Empire rose, is when things, I think, became worse. From the
Yeah.
normal trade, now people came in, now the people, but I think the ancient Arabians, who are the Yemenis, who actually the Yemenis are the people who civilized Arabia, although the Arabia will not understand or maybe accept, but they are the people who civilized Arabia. Why? Because these people from the Horn of Africa came from the Nile Valley, and they did the same civilization in Yemen. They gave them a script, actually. They gave them a script. They showed them how to build dams, and they brought the frankincense. In Yemen, they have the frankincense. The PC East we call mocha. And what is coffee mocha? What is coffee mocha? They say coffee mocha. You know what they call coffee mocha?
Yeah. Yes. It's not that mixed with chocolate.
Yes, yes. Now there is a place called Mocha in Yemen. But mocha nyana ni koru mocha. Mocha ineke usi is
To fail. Hello? Oh, hello?
Can you
Hello?
hear me?
Oh, now I can hear you. Mocha to fail. Oko mocha.
No. How do we say direction in Ekegusi? North, south?
Direction? Vacha. Mocha.
Can you hear me? Yes.
Yeah, sure. Help me out here.
There is Sugusu. Can you hear me?
I can
There
hear
is Sugusu. I don't know if it's south or north. There is Iriani.
Iriani.
Sugusu, there is Iriani. There is Mocha.
Why you breaking up? You're breaking up.
So how did we get in East Africa? The wise men used the star that they followed to go and see the child in Bethlehem was coming from Mocha. Engenangeni ekaru Mocha. Engenangeni korwa Mocha. Mocha is east. So to us Africans, we did land over there. No, we know east as Yemen, because in Yemen there is even a town called Mocha.
What?
It's called Mocha. And Yemen of Africa. Yes. You know, our people were traveling, our people were trading with them.
Now,
long, many years.
You know, I never knew about that Kisi variation. That's interesting. I have to go and research that.
Yes. We call East Mocha, and Mocha is in Yemen. We know our East is in Yemen. So we came here to see our queens and our kings and to ask for gold, for ivory, and everything. But when now the conquests began, they reversed our loyalty and they made it like now we are nothing. Like now the people can
And who is
export
this again?
us,
You
we
said
can be
that.
exploited. Mm.
Who is this again? You said that. It broke up.
No, I'm saying I was talking about Mocha in our language is east, and in Yemen there is a city called Mocha, and east to us is called Mocha. So the people in East Africa, while they were trading with the ancient people who lived in Arabia that time, they knew where Yemen was. They knew where the east. They knew the direction very, very well. Just the same way they knew Egypt, because in our languages, the people say we from the north.
Yeah.
It's in the north. And they
We're
know
from the north.
Yemen were already trading with the Queen of Sheba and the others, and even to Arabia. So I can say how the African tradition happened. It happened through trade, because in ancient times we had a trade and a good trade. There is no recorded issues like the Africans were taken to Yemen or something happened. There was good trade by then, but when the conquest came after Christ, now when the people want to take over the world, I think that is when now this enslavement and the other things happened. But before, these people respected us so much. And you see, the Swahili right now even could have been a major language in Arabia, because there are people who translated Swahili, the people actually who translated most of the Swahili dictionary. Some of them were from Arabia, together with the people inland, because these people wanted the language. Can you hear me?
Yes,
They
Yeah.
we
wanted
can.
the
We can
language.
hear
They loved
you.
the language.
Yeah, we can
So
hear you.
now,
It's breaking
yeah,
up, but we hear you.
We hear you.
yes. So I've been rethinking and rethinking,
I gotta get
like
battery.
what happened? What happened? I'm always asking myself, what happened? What happened? Why don't they mention how the trade came in? When we read our history book, what we were told in school, we were just told, this and this happened, enslavement happened, this and this, but they don't tell us before. Before what happened in this East Coast, there was a trade. The trade was not that bad, because they don't want to tell us where we began. Because if they start telling you that there was an Asian trade, they have to mention Queen Sheba. They have to mention the Queen of Egypt. They have to mention Queen Judith. They have to mention how Aksum traded with Rome. And then you realize you had empires and you had kingdoms. So they have to start with the history after slavery. The same thing in America. They will not tell you before that what happened, because you realize, oh, there were powerful kingdoms in Africa and we were powerful people, and people came just even to buy our goods. We had these luxurious goods. So they had to cover all that history. So I can say that I told you the other time that I believe the Yemenis were the first people, among the first people to visit Africa, because they had this trade, Egypt, Yemen, and this East Coast. They had, this trade between them. So they had this, I can say, friendliness. How do we say when two countries trade with each other? Something like that. They agree to trade with each other. So the Swahili nearly got disappeared. What I heard from somebody, it nearly escaped from Africa because the people who translated the dictionary, they were among the people. Remember, they have lived here for hundreds of years. Some have been born here in the east coast of Africa, and some of them are, leaders in religion. They are big people, and they are trading. They are rich, So the only person I think God, the Most High, used these Germans. So the Most High used these Germans to return the language back. So what? No. Now I get it. The Most High has reminded me. I'm very sorry. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Yes.
Yes, we can hear you.
I want you to hear your voices in between so that I don't get lost, because I don't know if I'm going on and off because of my internet connection. Now, the Most High has reminded me. The Most High has reminded me. I can remember now. Actually, they said what happened. They translated the Swahili dictionary. The first dictionary was written in Arabic. The first Swahili dictionary was now written in Arabic, because now, if they write in their own script, don't you think they will own it? It was not written in Latin, but in their, the writing, the Arabic writing, the letters and the whatever. So it is now the Germans. It's now the Germans who I don't know if they gave rules or they commanded or whatever they did, but they said the Swahili dictionary, because now these Tanzanian people have to speak one language. They said these are many tribes, so they have to speak one language in order to understand each other and in order for them to govern them. Because now, for the Germans, they didn't have time to teach the Tanzanians German. That's not their business. They are not like French. The French teach you their culture and their language. They assimilate you. So the way they rule is by assimilation. But the British is divide and rule. You see, the British is divide and rule. But the French is assimilation. They give you Francophone language. They give you their franc. They give you their money. They give you their culture. And then now you feel you're better off being French than being African. So after that brainwash, now you see what is happening in West Africa with those countries that were colonized by France. They are not yet independent because of that assimilation, what they did to them. They brainwashed them. But now for the British, it's divide and rule. So that is why in Kenya, for us to be unite was very hard, because they divided us. And you, this tribe and this tribe, you are better than this one. This is a small tribe. This is what. So they divided us. So until now, this is the
Like
time
they
we are
did us
always
over here.
Exactly.
Because the British was over here. Yeah, now the French were here too in New Orleans, right? They had New Orleans and Mississippi also. Actually, Mississippi and New Orleans used to be counted as one place until the British bought it from the French. And the French, you'll see down in the French quarters down in Louisiana, they still have a lot more of the culture that they use for evil, though, but it's a lot more down up in there. And they have the Congo Square. It's because they let them practice their spirituality. The British, they were harsh and brutal to our ancestors and whatnot. So when they bought Mississippi that's why you see the difference there, is because of the different people that colonized those areas. So it's like you're talking, it's important to know history. Then things will make sense why things are the way they are.
Yes. And now the British wanted East Africa to be British East Africa. They didn't want the Germans. Remember, the Germans are here in Tanzania, but Uganda and Kenya is taken by the British. But the British want the whole of it. So what they did, they didn't encourage Tanzania to speak English. The Germans didn't encourage Tanzanians to speak English because they are German and the British are colonizing the neighboring countries. So, because of this tug of war, because of this misunderstanding, they ordered the dictionary that was already translated to Arabic to be translated back to Latin letters so the Africans can read. And now the Africans should speak now Swahili as a national language, as a language of unity for them to be able to govern. You see, you can't govern people and they are like in Babylon. This one is speaking their language, this one it's very hard to pass on information, it's hard to rule them. So they have to speak one language. So that is how to date the Tanzanians now had to speak. They came later on to learn the British, the English. So we were just like this, an inch. Our Swahili dictionary could just be in Arabic until today. So once it was translated in that alphabet, it would have gone and disappeared. The language would have gone, and once it would have reached their colors, it would have gone like that.
I agree, but then I also have a different opinion in the sense that, in fact, them translating that to Roman script, because the Africans were still we were still going to be able to read whether it was Arabic script or a Roman script. It didn't matter. The language was already spoken. For them to translate it to the Roman script, it lost its Africanness, believe it or not. What they say is Arabic script, we have to ask ourselves questions. If Swahili, when Adam was a child of Adam, then we must have known also that Alif was the first letter of the first alphabet. Who was saying they came with the writing anyway in the first place? Now, if you go and look at the Arabic script, what they call the Abjad, the Arabic script. If you look now in Hebrew, the letter is Chayin. Chayin means to be illuminated, to become, knowledgeable. It's to be civilized in a way. So it's to become illuminated, knowledgeable. Now in Swahili script, they have a different script for that. In Swahili, it's Ngaini with Nga. Y-I-N, Ngaini. Ngaini in my language is to become illuminated, is to become, aware, to grow,
enlightened,
cognitively, enlightened, civilized. Because my grandmother told me, I thought Ngaini. At that time she would tell me, maybe she means I'm not very civilized, I'm not very smart, I'm not very sharp. You see what I'm saying? So how is it that you have an Arabic script with a letter Ngaini that's Bantu? Who came up with it? Who came up with the original Ngaini?
And how they were able even to translate, to write that language in that script, yet they say, okay, this is Shemitic, this is not Shemitic. How are they able to,
Yeah.
Okay, I don't.
As far as I'm concerned, Swahilis were writing.
So what did the Arabic speak? What did they speak before they tried to claim Swahilis there? What were they speaking?
They said Swahili, but now
Arabic. Okay, that's what I thought. I just want to be sure. Now I want you all. You mentioned the Shirazi people. When we were in Tanzania, somebody hooked us up with this guy, this African guy over there, and I'm thinking he's Bantu because we know the original people over there were Bantu people. And so I asked him, "You Bantu?" He said, "No," and I'm confused. I said, "What are you?" And he said, "Shirazi." So I'm like, "Shirazi? I never heard of that." And so I inquired. He was black, dark black. He said, "I said, Shirazi, what is that?" He said, "Oh," and he told me his history. We come from Oman, and he talked about that they were the Arabics. So the original Arabics were dark black.
They were, but also some of them did intermarry with the local women. And one thing you have to understand with Swahilis is that they will deny their African heritage. The story is the same. Just like you have some African Americans denying their African heritage.
Exactly.
He is there with them. In fact, they will insult you if you say they're Bantu. And he could very well maybe Bantu, but he will never admit it.
That happened to me last year. It was this young man, because I've learned a little bit of some of the language. I can look at the name and tell where you're from. I said, oh, and I pronounced the name. I said, you from South Africa? He said, yeah. I said, such and such tribe. He said, yeah. I said, you're Bantu? No.
What?
He said, no. I said, I'm not Bantu. I said, okay.
What was it?
Bantu.
Never mind them.
He's Bantu. He's Zulu. But he said, I just said, okay. But I know you are. But I heard too. Now, you remember Jonathan Chilombo when he was out, right? Jonathan told us, he said, it was you all, the African Americans, that made being called Bantu popular. Y'all started coming out, we Bantu. He said, because over here it's derogatory, but y'all was wearing it with pride. We Bantu.
Yeah, and even it's true. Bantu knows. There's something about, like I said, there's only something about African Americans. There's just some stuff I don't understand that I need to understand. But you guys, I don't know. You guys get it, and you don't have the language. That's the part that fascinates me so much. But
it's the spirit, the DNA.
The DNA, because it's stored in your blood. If you get if you give somebody your blood, they might start to have memories that you have, and your virtues. There's people who've gotten like kidneys and heart transplants, and they end up just supernaturally picking up that person's skill.
Why? Because I almost said some of that I can't say on here that I have to say offline, but there's a lot of us coming up missing, and a lot of them, when they find the bodies, I'm just going to say the organs are missing. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, and then girl, okay, we'll talk about it behind the scenes, but you understand, and that melanated like longer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you see, and to add on to what Sister Tabitha is saying, Africans weren't just some primordial creatures that never evolved. People want to paint us as that, and I know you have this book, Sister Brenda, this one here, right? The Linguistic Time.
Yes.
Okay. Now, Sister Tabitha, I have an example for you.
Yes, Dada.
Yeah. Now, using, ancient, how it worked with consonants, okay?
Yeah.
Can you tell me an Ekewusi word that may match with this word here? MS, M, can you see? Oh, it's the opposite. Sorry. Let me just put MSWTT. Can you think of a Kewusi name that matches with that? MSWT.
Repeat MSWT. Moswati.
Aha. In ancient Egyptian, that means a girl or a child. Tell me how they have a Bagusi word for woman in the Hebrew.
Imagine.
You see what I'm saying? Straight up Kisi word. Now, and that's when we as a Bagusi say we did migrate. I can give you proof until kingdom come, because even the word for child is in Kana.
You said Messiah.
Huh?
You said what word?
Enka. Kenan.
For child.
Oh, Kanana.
Kanana, the child.
Also, yeah, that's also ancient Egyptian, but it's also Ekewusi, and it's Bantu. Anyway, Proto-Bantu for a child is Anna. So you'll see Bana, Shana, Kana, Chana. It depends on what they call it. So you will also see that they're the Gikuyu. Okay, now I'm going to show you that the Gikuyu were in Yemen and Oman. How will I show you that? And I did a video of this in my channel. So if you guys get a chance, Bosibore, Ibongia, you can look it up. It's on Nimrod. Yeah, the book of Nimrod. Sorry.
Oh, I saw that one. I'm gonna have to go back and look at it again.
Yeah. So the Kikuyu talk about now they have the sixth clan. The Kikuyu culture is called Airimo. Okay, the matriarch of the clan is called Wairimo. Now, Wairimo means an ogre, and the short form for the name Wairimo is what? Nimo. Nimo is also a name for an ogre. Now that the Kikuyu came across a race of giants when during they were migrating, they said during the migration, they were migrating, and they came across a race of giants called Adu Irimo. This is in Kikuyu culture. Okay, Adu Irimo. Adu Irimo just means the mad people. Okay, now you have to understand that in African culture, we don't, and I say this in a nice way, somebody might be born disabled, but because we don't have that broad spectrum, I mean, we don't have that intricate term that we say maybe they are mentally challenged. They might say somebody is not well. It just might be a kind of birth deformity, if they don't think, like everybody else. You know what I'm saying? So that tells you that these people were sort of deformed. Okay. So they came across a race of giants called Adu Irimo. Now, to remember that, they gave their matriarch a clan called Airimo, meaning she who's born of the clan of the ogre. Okay. Now, the number 6 in Kikuyu is Idadato. Idadato means 2 3s. 2 3s. Okay. And if you do 3 divided by 2, what you get? 0.666. See that? That's the mark of the beast. But anyway, with the Kikuyu, with that being said, the name Nimrod, in Kikuyu culture, when you say Nomorodi, it means Nomorodi means he's a lion. Remember, lions were very important, should I say, trademarks for kings in Babylon and in many kingdoms around. Nomorodi is a lion. For us, when you say Nomoroti for us is a priest or a king. You say
and Ruot is for the Luos.
Now, Kikuyus, it turns out that the one place that is called Ad Iram, and you guys can Google this, Ad Iram is found between Yemen and Oman. Okay? And it has, yes,
Iram.
Ad Iram, yeah, and they found caves that have 20 feet doors, 20, 30 feet doors that were, were etched into caves. Why would a normal human need a door that large?
So they really did come across the giants.
Yes, the giants were here in East Africa. The giants were there.
20 feet tall? What happened to them? Where are they at now?
I'll tell you a story. Hang on, they're coming there. I'll tell you that story. So with Ad Iram, the also in the Quran, they talk about Ad Iram that was destroyed by the Most High because of their godlessness. Okay? So Ad Iram is mentioned in the Quran. Adu Irimo is mentioned by the Kikuyu as a race of giants. So and in every Kikuyu, like you want to say every Kikuyu, there are 10. There are 9/10 matriarchs, but each of them describes the type of people made. So the 6th creation, which will follow the Genesis 6 giants. You see what I'm saying? So the number 6, even in itself, when it says 2 3s, that's the number 6 in Kikuyu. If you divide 3 by 2, if you put it as a fraction, it's 0.66. The giants were 2/3. 2/3 spirit, a third human.
2/3 spirits.
And a third human.
So they were the fallen.
The fallen ones, he's asking.
Yeah, the fallen ones, the giants were the fallen ones, basically.
Yeah.
The children of the fallen ones,
Yes.
for lack of a better term. Now, that in itself just shows that at one point Kikuyus were in Adiram. They were in Yemen. What were they doing there? Okay. Then also the name Nimrod can be found in the Kikuyu culture. It means a lion. And somebody had broken it down further for me and said the word Kirodi means somebody who's born deformed or something like that, or a deviant. So anyway, I can't remember. There was something that put there on my thing. But anyway, when we come down to African culture, we talk about giants. Giants were there. They were there, and I think they're coming back. And in fact, they will tell you about stories where mothers had to have codes, songs, so that when they would sing, the child would know it's their mom, because the giants were able to manipulate themselves and form their voices to be like human voices. They were shapeshifters. They were interdimensional beings. Okay. So you find a story about a great warrior from the Nilotic tribe, which is a Luo. This is one of the most ancient cultures on earth. Okay, the Luos. They talk about Luanda Magere. Luanda Magere was a prolific warrior. They could not kill him for nothing. Okay. Luanda was so bad, they tried to kill him. The Kalenjin are one of the most fierce warriors, by the way. The Kalenjin fought the Europeans to a T. They put the high struggle in Kenya. So the Kalenjin wanted to know what was it about this man that they could not beat. So you know what they did? The same good old story of Delilah, espionage. They took this Kalenjin woman and married her off to Luanda Magere. Okay. Luanda Magere goes to war one time, wins as usual, but comes back injured. And then his wife, who's a spy, she's one of the most gorgeous women that was brought from that tribe. He had no idea she was a spy. And then he was ailing so much, but he didn't want to give out his secret. So he tells the woman at one point, he said, dude, I'm going to die. So the woman says, tell me so I can help you. And then he says, well, in the morning when the sun comes out and the shadow's out, holla at me, I'm going to tell you. So in the morning when the shadow comes out and his shadow is cast on the ground, he says, go take that medicine and cut into the shadow and put the medicine in the shadow. And from there on, Luanda Magere sprang to life like nothing had happened. He healed. Okay. Now she goes back and tells her people, guess what? This brother, you just need to cut into his shadow. And when he went to war, the next time he went to war, somebody stabbed his shadow right in the heart and he died. Now, the reason why I'm telling that story is that Luanda Magere was a giant, and this is how I know he was a giant. Is because when Luanda Magere was stabbed, he turned into a rock, and the rock is still there until today. And then number two, ancient giants were known to have such high, collagen, such thick collagen that you were not able to stab them with ordinary swords. They didn't feel anything. Kind of like
the
Goliath.
swords would break. The
swords
would
Wait a minute, y'all. So y'all got this over in your culture, right? Okay, we read this in the Bible, right? So, but you're bringing out more information, but you with it is coming questions now in my head. So I know you said they were interdimensional. So where did they come? Why did they come?
Stories. Yeah,
okay,
it's in African stories.
Okay, I'll tell you. Yeah, they're there in every African story. Now, in Kisi culture, it's forbidden knowledge. So they'll tell us the story that, the bad children, they went and they turned into elephants. It's not really elephant, they turned into giants. But in other cultures, they're more explicit, like the Swahili culture. They talk about them. They talk about the Zamzumin. The Zamzumin in the Hebrew Bible, they're called Zamzumin. In Swahili, they're called Zimwi.
I heard of that. Zimzumi. I heard it, yeah.
They're called Zimwi. Jitu. Jitu is also a giant. The large form for the name giant. Now, another name, Marehemu. Marehemu, the dead ones. Now, remember that in the Bible, they talk about the Nephilim, the Nephilim or the Rephaim. They were either called the dead ones, the shadows, or the ghosts, right? That's the interpretation in Hebrew text. So Luanda Magere, his cure. The thing about these Nephilims, they always had a weak point. It's like they were immortal until their weak point. Achilles had the heel. Remember, they had a trait. Achilles had the heel. And then you find that Luanda Magere, it was his shadow that was the weakness. And you will find that the weaknesses will vary in different cultures. So they were almost immoral, except a weak point. You see what I'm saying? Luanda Magere was his shadow. And that's how he ended up dying. Why? Because the dead ones were also called the shadows. Because these people were soulless. And they were interdimensional. You see.
So why did they come here?
Why did they come here?
Yeah.
Well, from what I've had, like a shaman medicine man say, is, and I love him. You know, this man is scary, but I love him because he's honest. If he deceives you, you're a fool. He said that the gods that he worshipped, they rebelled against the Most High called Nkulunkulu.
Wait a minute, who rebelled?
They're called the Chitauri. The Chitauri are the aliens. They're called the gods. The gods. There were angels in heaven, but they rebelled against the Most High called Nkulunkulu. Okay, and that's how they came on earth. And when they came on earth, they started to experiment with the creation of humans.
Okay, now I got a question, but I have to ask you this question after we end the session here. We're gonna get ready to end it, and we're gonna continue. These are gonna be some series, you all.
Yeah. So when they broke up and came down, and then you will hear from the other cultures, like my culture, they'll tell you that the Most High, he dwelt among the people. They talked to him, face to face. But then because of man's sin, the Most High disconnected himself. And guess what? That's when the ancestral worship came in. People didn't worship through ancestors. It was because of sin, the Most High separated, and then ancestral worship came in.
So that was their means of connecting to the Most High, was the ancestors that went on. So that is why they started venerating them?
No. Because the Most High cut himself from mankind because of their sin.
Yes.
They started venerating ancestors because they had lost connection to the Most High.
So that's what I'm saying. So they were saying now that the connection to the Most High is through the elevated ones, the ascended ones. So they had to have a mediator now.
Yes, a mediator. Which was a false mediator. Yeah.
You say a false mediator.
Yes. So you see, and even in Luo culture, I remember as a child reading a story about a woman. There was a race between.
Wait a minute. I'm telling you, this is how my brain works. So you said a false mediator. So the Most High left. They had no connection. How were they to connect then?
So what they could have done is repented. You see that story they never tell you. No one ever talks about repentance or trying to go back and seek what they should do. You see, Adam and Eve never repented. And so in African culture, they'll just give you a broad spectrum of the story. And then you have to ask the elders so you can get the interpretation. But, they'll tell you, worship of ancestors is our tradition. No, it wasn't. It was worship of the Most High. And then ancestors came in when the Most High disconnected himself.
So that shouldn't be happening, you're saying?
Yeah, worshiping through ancestors should not happen. You see? Because the original plan was for God to communicate with man directly. And this is where we've gone back to.
So that's where they get where Jesus is the propitiator between man. But basically it was the ancestor. They just changed it and put Jesus in there.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, perfect.
And so then it says that when he died, the veil was rent and we were supposed to have been able to go directly to the Creator. Okay, we're gonna end it here because I don't want some of this stuff. But we're gonna end it here, you all. We're gonna continue, you all. So YouTube land, if you have any questions, let us know or comments or whatever upon what we just mentioned here. Put it in the comment section or anything that you don't want her Tabitha or Bosibore to elaborate on more. put it in the comments, because we know that you have questions like I have questions. Sister Bosibore be throwing out her and Tabitha all this information, and it have my brain going. So I have questions because I want clarity and understanding, because I am one that's trying to get to the truth. So with that being said, we're going to end it. Just hold on, Bosibore and Tabitha. We're going to end it here, but we're going to be continuing these conversations so that we can learn our culture and get understanding of what we need to do, where we need to be going, how we need to go, and how we need to navigate in these days. So until then, we'll see you next time.
Yeah.
What's going on? What's the word? It's a Bantu awakening, heard all over the world. What's going on? What's the word? It's a Bantu awakening, heard all over the world. Hey yo fam, Betwabi, it's time to wake up. Don't hit the snooze button. We gotta gird up, put your sire on. He's the word, you know. We're a light to the nations. We gotta let it show. We were called by the Most High Yah to represent him. Hallelujah, Luah. It's Olele, B'nai Yakuba.